والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Inshallah, in today's hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is a very important hadith. All the hadith are very important, but this one is specifically, addresses to our time and situation where we have made our necessities as novelties, right? And that is consumption of food. So having to eat more than what is required for you, or to overeat yourself, what is the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وعن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أراد أن يشتري غلاما فألقى بين يديه تمرا فأكل الغلام فأكثر فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن كثرة الأكل شؤم وأمر برده رواه البيهقي في شعب الإيمان. Aisha radiallahu anha reported that a messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam intended to buy or hire a slave, a servant. So to test what kind of individual he is, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam laid in front of him some dates. And as soon as he laid these dates, this individual, he jumped onto these dates and he ate all of them at once. So the Prophet ﷺ said, surely too much eating removes the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he ordered to give this servant and slave back, and he did not purchase it. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he is warning us from something that is become a habit. A lot of people sit on the food table, dinner table, and the food is very delicious, and you start eating and eating and eating, and then you say, my stomach is full, but my taste is not, right? I want to eat more. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ has discouraged. Abu Juhfa radiallahu anhu, his son Aun ibn Abi Juhfa, narrates from his father, and this narration is found in Imam Tirmidhi's Sunan, that my father came to the Prophet ﷺ after eating tharid, which was mixed with meat and ghee, and it was prepared very deliciously. So my father ate and he ate and he ate until he was full. And then he came to the Prophet ﷺ, and when he was coming to the Prophet ﷺ, he starts to burp. And that is something that, we have to be very careful when you're coming to the masjid. A lot of times, people just eat quickly dinner, and then when they come to the masjid, they're standing in sufuf, and they're burping away. This morning, after Fajr Salah, one brother came and he complained to me about another brother who was standing next to him in prayer, and he was burping out loud, right? And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ always discouraged. Always discouraged. So this Sahabi, Abu Juhfa radiallahu anhu, came to the Prophet ﷺ and he was burping loud. So the Prophet ﷺ said to him that do not come and burp, why? And do not overeat yourself, because those who eat more in this dunya, they will be very hungry in akhirah. On the day of judgment, they will be the most hungry people in the sight of Allah on the day of judgment, when their a'mal are being weighed in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also mentioned in many of the narrations that about to have only that much food which is sufficient for you. And that's why I started off with, in today's time and age, food has become a novelty. It's no longer a necessity. Right? And Allah Azza wa Jal has made ta'am as a necessity that you need. As the Prophet ﷺ said, that yakfi li ibn Adam luqmatain, that it is sufficient for a son of Adam to eat few morsels, yaqumu bihi sulbahu, so that his stomach, his back stays empty, he doesn't feel hunger at all time. So Abu Juhfa radiallahu anhu, he said, after taking this advice from the Prophet ﷺ, I have never eaten in my life till I was full. If I would eat the morning meal, I would skip the dinner. And if I have the dinner, I would skip the morning meal. So I will only eat once a day, just on practicing what the Prophet ﷺ has taught me. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned a hadith in which he said that a believer eats with one intestine and a non-believer it eats with many intestines. Under the commentary of this hadith, Ibn Hajar writes in Fathul Bari, the author of Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, that Abdullah bin Nafi', who is the slave of Abdullah bin Umar, and later on Abdullah bin Umar had freed him and he became one of the great transmitter of hadith. Imam Malik's Mu'atta, the most highest chain of narration, it's the one which is narrated by Abdullah bin Umar and Nafi' and Malik. So Nafi' was the teacher of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi and student of Abdullah bin Umar. Imam Nafi' says that I was with Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, and all the years that I have spent in the company of Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu would always look for someone who is needy and he would sit with him with his food. He would only take 2 or 3 bites and the rest of the food he will give it to this needy individual. Once he was sitting with this person and this person ate the entire plate at once. And upon this, Abdullah bin Umar told Nafi' that next time, avoid this person. Avoid him. Don't bring him. So Nafi' said, Ya Ibn Umar, why? He says, I have heard the Prophet ﷺ said that a true believer eats with one intestine, meaning he eats very less. And a person who is not a believer, who is unthankful to the blessings of Allah, this person eats a lot. So eating a lot is something that is not recommended in Islam and the teachings of Islam. A person should eat that much which is sufficient for him so that he is able to go through his daily affairs and which does not make him weak. If a person everybody has a different quantity of eating. Some people have, because everybody's body is different. Some people consume this much, some people consume that much. So according to your capacity, so what's the criteria here? 1/3 of your food. When you leave the dinner table, there should be a little hunger left inside you. That's the criteria. That after you have eaten, let's say, you're in a habit of eating 2 breads or 2 rotis every single dinner where you get full. Break it down to 1.5 or maybe 1. So when you leave the dinner table, there is still some hunger left inside, and that is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We ask the Almighty Allah to give us the ability to practice on the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Inshallah, after the sunnah prayer,